Hello, this is David Allen and you are watching Sporting Icons.
Right, so I'll put the article in the description box for you guys to go have a read for yourself. So Deontay Wilder has reacted to Big Baby Jarrell Miller failing the PED test. Of course, we're still waiting on the B sample to see if that fight is going to be 100% cancelled, but it looks like it's going to be, okay? So Deontay Wilder also commented about who he would like to see Joshua make his US debut against on June the 1st at Madison Square Garden. And this is what Deontay Wilder had to say. Out of all the guys, I would pick Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz would be the man who'd be ready. Luis Ortiz always trains. After my fight, he stayed training. He stayed doing something. He stayed waiting on that call. People want to talk about his last performance. Yeah. We all have an off day. We can't all be perfect, even the best of the best. As far as Miller's concerned, I'm disappointed because he's let his family down, he's let his kids down, he let a life-changing opportunity slip through his hands, and that's what I'm mostly disappointed in, because of the family. He talked about how he came out living with roaches and had to add water to milk. Like a lot of our culture, we have to go through the same thing. But when you get this opportunity, you hold this opportunity dear. The things that you know you're going to get into trouble for, you just don't do it. This man, with the opportunity he had to make the money he was going to make, I wouldn't have been taking nothing. I'd have been drinking mother-loving water. Win, lose or draw, he was going to get this money, and it was life-changing money. No one was expecting him to beat Joshua anyway. Miller is not a likeable guy in boxing anyway. The people in boxing, the business side of boxing, don't like Jarrell Miller because of how he carries himself and the things he says. A lot of people are happy that this has happened to him. Deontay Wilder's statement. So as you can tell, he's pretty much gone in on him for failing this PED test. As we know, Wilder, he's had numerous opponents pull out or had to have been withdrawn due to PEDs. So I can fully understand what it is that Wilder's saying, and I agree with everything that Wilder has said here. Okay, Miller had the lottery ticket and he just ripped it up because either he was deliberately putting something into his system to gain an advantage, or he just wasn't careful. But when you hang around bodybuilders, which is what he does, when there's steroids on tap around those gyms, you could pick up the wrong bottle, okay? And things can get into your system, so it could be accidental. But ultimately, it's down to him, it's down to every professional athlete, not just in boxing, but across the world, to watch what it is that you're putting in your system. If you're not, these things happen. So I understand exactly what it is that Wilder's saying. Now, for him to say that if it was him in that situation, he'd have made sure that he was just drinking water, basically ensuring nothing went into his system. And he's absolutely correct. He's absolutely correct. Because Miller has just turned down or lost life-changing money. He was getting anywhere from 7 million rising to 9 million. That's a crap load of money when you're Big Baby Jarrell Miller, when you're earning 50 to 100 grand per fight. And then you're jumping all the way up to $9 million potentially. That's a crap load of money. But with Wilder, again, I mean, Wilder's it's a different category in some ways because he just turned down $120 million. Okay, 20 million was against Dominic Brazil, then 100 million were back-to-back fights with Anothony Joshua for undisputed, so legacy. So it is calling the kettle, really, isn't it? You know, he's turned down over $100 million to fight Joshua, whereas Miller, he just lost out on $7 to $9 million. There's a whole world of difference on this one. So he has been a little bit two-faced about that one, that is for sure. And also, does Wilder give that same kind of advice and that same kind of reaction to when his brother failed the PED test last week? So, again, I mean, listen, knowing Wilder, I'm pretty sure that he would have went in on his brother Marcellus Wilder when he failed. He'd have went in on him. Okay, I mean, for me, I know a lot of people say that Deontay Wilder probably takes PEDs himself. I'm not too convinced of it. It won't surprise me if he's done it at some point. But there again, his weight is dropping each and every fight. So who really knows? Listen, I'm not a PED expert. But anyway, so as far as him going on to who Anothony Joshua should fight next, of course, he's going to say Luis Ortiz. Of course he is. Why? Well, first of all, because Wilder is taking on Joshua's former opponent in Dominic Brazil. So a lot of people are going, so you're taking on Joshua's leftovers, which he is. So if Joshua takes on Ortiz, it then shuts up the AJ fans, doesn't it? Who are pointing and laughing at Wilder taking on Joshua's former opponent in Brazil, because Joshua will be taking on Wilder's former opponent in Luis Ortiz. There is a slight difference, of course. Luis Ortiz gave Wilder that work. He really did. And had the referee stopped at round number 7, I don't think too many people would have complained. But when Joshua fought Brazil, he steamrolled him. And he had glandular fever as well and stopped him in round number 7. And I do fully expect Wilder to stop him a whole lot earlier. But listen, it's heavyweight boxing, you never know. So him saying Luis Ortiz, of course, he's the benchmark, okay, for Wilder and all the fans, because he's the biggest name on his resume. Now, we know Luis Ortiz hasn't done anything to get this kind of reputation of the boogeyman and things like that. This is just something that Tyson Fury started probably 3 years ago. He started that one. But Luis Ortiz hasn't beaten anybody of any kind of great note. He just hasn't. He's never been world champion. He's only ever fought for a world title once, and he did lose it, okay? And he never won anything as an amateur either, nothing of significance. But we could argue that Luis Ortiz, even since he's lost to Wilder, what's he done? He's beat a Razvan Kijanu. He's beat a Chavis Kaufman, which nearly went the distance with, okay? And Christian Hammer, who's borderline European level, okay? So he hasn't beaten anybody himself. He hasn't stepped up. But of course, where Wilder's saying that Luis Ortiz, he's always in camp, he's always ready, he's always training, well, he's not, because he's saying, or at least his team are saying, that 6 weeks, 7 weeks isn't long enough to prepare for an Anothony Joshua fight. Bearing in mind, Luis Ortiz, his highest ever payday was $500,000 when he fought Wilder, because he got 25% of that purse. So $500,000, and now he's going to be offered 7. He could potentially get it to 10 million to come in and save the day, like save the event, if you like. Is he going to get that kind of money anywhere else? No, of course not. Is Luis Ortiz financially set for life? Maybe, if he's been careful with his money. But 7, 8, 9, even 10 million, he'll never have to fight again. Win, lose or draw, as Wilder would put it. So I think 6 weeks is more than enough time. If anybody's going to be at a disadvantage in that fight, as I said before, it's going to be Joshua, because Joshua's been preparing for Miller. Completely polar opposite styles in every way. And for the fact that Luis Ortiz is southpaw, left-handed. Miller, orthodox, right-handed. Okay, so his sparring partners, everything is going to be complete opposite. There is potentially a bit of an issue with Luis Ortiz as well, the fact that when he was originally meant to fight Wilder and he failed the PED test in himself, because he didn't put the high blood pressure medication on the form, it was a case of the WBA suspended him. The WBC didn't, but the WBA did. For me, I thought that was wrong. If the WBC didn't, as it was a WBC sanctioned bout, had nothing to do with the WBA, they should not have suspended him. But they did, and that did expire in September. I checked this morning, because originally I thought it was 3 years, but he can appeal after 2 years. I remember talking about it when all this was released, but the article that I've just found earlier on was he was suspended for 1 year. But within that article as well, it does say that he should appeal, as in he should ask to be re-ranked, because as of even right now, even though September was 6, 7 months ago, he's still not ranked in the WBA. So there may be an issue with that one. He's also not ranked in the WBO as well, because they were unhappy with the fact that he failed that test. But he is ranked in the IBF. So worst case scenario, if Joshua does fight Luis Ortiz, it won't be for all the belts. That's worst case scenario. But who knows, maybe all the belts will be on the line. The WBA and the WBO will agree to it. So I can agree with Wilder. I think Luis Ortiz will be a great opponent, purely for some kind of name recognition. What I don't want to see is a Brit travelling there. Talk about Derek Chisora. Come on now, you can't lose your last fight, win this Saturday, and then get a world title shot. It just don't work that way, does it? I mean, again, there's nothing really stopping Wilder from stepping in. Let's be honest. Yes, he's mandated to fight Dominic Brazil, but I'm pretty sure the WBC would allow that one to be postponed while he goes for undisputed. I'm sure the WBC would allow it. So in theory, he could do it. But listen, he's already turned down a whole crap load of money for back-to-back undisputed legacy fights with Anothony Joshua. So in some ways, he is two-faced by saying Miller, he should have took this opportunity and held it dear and did everything. I mean, he is right in what he says, but it is two-faced. But Either way, I mean, that is Wilder's statement. He went in on Big Baby Jarrell Miller. But as we know, these guys don't really like each other anyway. They have a bit of history. They had some sparring sessions, and apparently on one of them, Wilder hurt Miller quite badly. I don't know whether he dropped him or not, but he hurt him quite badly. And after it, Miller was quite dizzy. Miller was claiming it's dehydration, but it is what it is. And it turned out that Miller used to be dating Wilder's current girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever. So again, there is some real needle in this one as well. But anyway, so I'll put the article in the description box. Of course, you let me know your thoughts on what it is that Wilder's saying. Do you agree with him that it should be Luis Ortiz? For me, I can certainly see why it should be, but Luis Ortiz seems like he's not really interested. In fact, nobody from the PBC really seems too interested. Maybe it's Al Heyman saying, we're not going to have any more of our PBC heavyweights losing to Joshua. We've already had 2 in Charles Martin, Don Brazil. I ain't losing another one. Maybe it's that. I don't know. Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.